It's time now for the Red Hawks Coaches Show on the SEMO ESPN Radio Sports Network. The Southeast Coaches Show airs at ESPN 92.9 FM and 1220 AM from Wings Etc. in Cape and Jackson. This is your chance to delve deep into the Red Hawks basketball season with head coach Rick Ray. So what do you say?
Come on, let's go!
Let's go! Let's go live to Wings Etc. on SEMO ESPN.
Welcome in another edition of the Red Hawks Coaches Show. We are at Wings, etc., Cape Girardeau location, and we'll be here until 1 o'clock. This programming note will be back over in Jackson tomorrow or next Monday, starting at 12 noon for another edition of the Red Hawks Coaches Show, which will include 2 home games this week for Southeast. We'll be talking about those coming up in the future show. We'll talk a little bit about Eastern Illinois and SIU Edwardsville. Those are the 2 teams that'll be visiting the Show Me Center this week. And don't forget the Red Hawk women. It's not going to be a doubleheader on Thursday. They'll play Eastern Illinois on Wednesday night, and then it'll be a standalone Red Hawk men's game versus EIU Thursday. And then on Saturday, it'll be a doubleheader with SIU Edwardsville. The Cougar women, by the way, in second place in the OVC behind only Belmont, who is trying to run the table and go undefeated for 2 consecutive seasons in OVC play. I want to remind you that on Mondays, the award-winning jumbo wings here at Wings Etc. are just 69 cents. They have food and drink specials throughout the week, and their menu has a lot more than just the wings. They've got freshly made burgers, wraps, subs, quesadillas. If you want to try the entree salads, they are outstanding, especially that grilled chicken salad. They have smoked ribs and much more. Their appetizer lineup includes their ultimate nachos and their deep-fried pickle spears as well. So we invite you, come on out and enjoy lunch with us here at Wings Etc. in Cape Girardeau. Let's bring in the Red Hawks head basketball coach, Rick Ray. And, boy, as we get ready to embark on a couple of home games, it is tough to win on the road. It wasn't as tough for you on Thursday at Morehead State. You were firmly in control of that game in the second half. But, boy, what a game Saturday against UT Martin. For those who weren't following it, you're down 15 points with 9:45 to play in the game. So you're just past the midway point of the second half, and you come back and win that basketball game in overtime. How satisfying was that for the coaching staff?
Well, I tell you what, it's amazing. Like, you think about the emotions of a swing there. So if Denzel Mahoney doesn't hit that three-pointer and send us in overtime and we win that game, you know, we're just down in the dumps. But he hits that three. We go and we execute in overtime. We end up winning the game. Just a change of emotions of how I would feel right now between, like, winning that game and losing that game, and a change of emotions. But, you know, I thought our guys did a really good job of sticking with the game plan. Once we got into that dire situation and guys started to listen to what we needed to do. And it really boiled down to just one thing, paint attacks. I think what happens, UT Martin is a unique team in our league because they exclusively play that matchup zone. They don't play any man-to-man, and they change up some of their coverages in their matchup zone, but it's always a zone. And so sometimes they extend it, sometimes it's a 2-guard front, sometimes it's a 1-guard front. And what happens, I think, with a lot of people is they get paralyzed trying to figure out what they're in and what they should do instead of just playing. And that's the one thing that I always want our guys to be able to do is I don't want them to be robots. I don't want them to be handcuffed. I want them to have the freedom to go out there and make plays. And sometimes that's to a detriment because you're giving your guys a freedom, and some coaches feel like I got to have control of the game. And I don't want that. I want them to control the game. I want to teach them how to play and teach them how to execute and let them go out and play in the flow of the game, play in the rhythm of the game. And so I just thought that we were settling for threes. You know, we were settling for points. If you're just a prime example of that is Ladarius Brewer. Ladarius Brewer goes 0-7 from the three-point line, and he's 7-7 on 2-pointers. So just getting him to understand what he needed to do as a basketball player in that second half, and him and Denzel, they continually attacked the paint in that last, 10 to 12 minutes of the game, and it really ended up helping our ball club.
You know, I didn't know early on in Ladarius Brewer's career how good he was going to be in terms of finishing around the basket. Once teams started to see that he's going to do some more things than just hang out on the three-point arc. And he was finishing pretty regularly around the basket, so I was very interested to see if that would continue or if he was just hot early on and was able to finish on a few plays. Coach, he's got to be the best finisher around the basket that you have. I mean, if you took shots inside of 5 feet for your team, I would think Ladarius Brewer leads the team in field goal percentage.
Yeah, they have all these analytics now, and you can sit down and break everybody's shot down at layups, 10 feet, 15 feet, three-pointers, and it's not even close. Just going into that game, we had broken it down for him so he could see. In the past 3 games, he was 3 of 18 from the three-point line, but he was shooting 79% on twos. And so we just told him, and he's taking more threes than he had twos. And I said, I'm not the smartest person, but what I think you should do is probably shoot more twos than threes, since you're shooting almost 80% from twos and shooting 16% from the three-point line in that time span. So, guys, they fall in love with the three-point line. Steph Curry is great, and he's also a curse because
right.
Now,
I can see that.
Yeah, now everybody wants to shoot contested threes, and not only do they want to shoot contested threes, they want to shoot them from 25 feet. And so now everybody sees that on TV, and they think they can do that as well.
Or Trae Young. They're watching Trae Young play for Oklahoma.
Exactly. But, the thing that's crazy about Trae Young now there's all this commentary about how bad his shots that he's taking, and he needs to take better shots. And, no, those are the same shots that he was taking before. He was just making many of them. And now guys are getting a scouting report, and they're staying up into him. And those are the same exact shots that he was taking when he was scoring 40 points a game. He's just now not making them. Now the criticism comes in. It can't be a bad shot just because he misses it. It's either a bad shot or a good shot. And anybody that knows Lon Kruger, he gives his guys freedom. And so they go out and play. So just trying to get guys to understand, like, hey, man, maybe we need to not settle for this. And, I don't think I expressed what I want in our fast break, offense very well, because obviously we weren't getting it. So we talked about our early offense, which is the first 5 seconds of the shot clock. Hey, fellas, like, if you got a layup that you can go in that's uncontested, take that layup. If you got an uncontested three, take that three. But we don't want difficult layup attempts and contested threes 5 seconds into the shot clock. It's just not good. We want to make teams guard us, and I think we've done a much better job in these past couple of games of not settling for that shot early in the shot clock.
We're going to have Jonathan Dalton, the Red Hawks point guard. He's going to join us a little bit later on in the show. I want to talk about him, Coach, because if anybody's watching University of Missouri right now, they'd love to have Jonathan Dalton as their point guard running that offense with all the offensive firepower, the ability to not turn the ball over against the press. Just because he's not scoring 12 to 15 points a game, explain how good Jonathan Dalton is, because you're not seeing double-digit scoring output. Maybe some people overlook the things that he does for your team.
Well, first of all, Coach, don't say that too loud about Missouri wanting Jonathan Dalton, because the way transfers go down these days, right. We got to be careful about that. But you've seen Mizzou.
They need – I mean, he's better than any point guard they have on their roster.
Well, I tell you this, and to a testament to Jonathan Dalton, we didn't know that either. I mean, we were just in desperation mode when Taj decided to transfer, and we're trying to figure out, what we need and trying to go out and get a point guard and things like that. Now, I think, probably 5 years ago, I would have went out and just took a body. Hey, we need to get somebody in here. I don't care if you think he's good enough or not, just to have insurance and things like that. But what you end up doing is in that, 2-month or 3-month span, instead of you making a 2-month mistake, what you end up doing is making a 4-year mistake or a 2-year mistake, because now the young man's in your program for that time. He's really not what you needed, but you settled. And so what we've decided to do is not make those decisions, not make those rash decisions, and do what we're supposed to do, which is our job, and develop guys and get them to do and be good enough, because we recruited them. And so we saw something in Jonathan Dalton, and it was a big adjustment from him from junior college to the Division I level, because what Jonathan used to be able to do was get into the paint all the time and finish. Well, he's only 5'10", and so now he's got all these bodies running at him, so he wasn't having the success that he had at finishing. So to his credit, he really worked on his game as far as being able to make the right decisions once he got to the paint, because I always felt he could get to the paint. That was not his problem. It was his inability to finish with his size in the paint, and him understanding, hey, you just can't finish that. So what he's done and what he's as he's matured as a basketball player, especially at that point guard position, which is the most important position on the court, has just been phenomenal. I mean, you could take what he did at UT Martin down the stretch there and put together a coaching clinic on, like, this is the way you should execute at that position down the stretch, because everything that you wanted done, he did it, and he did it to perfection. He had 10 assists, 1 turnover. I mean, we just set double ball screens for him down the stretch there the last 4 to 5 minutes of the game, and he just made plays. It was Jonathan Dalton. Now, other guys made shots, and they finished at the rim and did all those things, but he set the table for everybody that last 4 to 5 minutes of the game, and the way he executed down the stretch, because there were 14 seconds left. And so everybody, even my staff, was like, we got to get a 3. No, we don't. It's 14 seconds. We need to get a 2. And what happens in those situations, the other team doesn't want to foul. They definitely don't want to help off the three-point line. So you have to attack the paint, but you got to do it fast because you can't waste time. So he attacked, went down there, made his layup, and then we called a timeout. And so right away, he did a great job there. So we were able to get that timeout. Then we talked about, hey, we want to try to get a steal here. If we don't get a steal, foul right away. We don't care who it is. Obviously, you got some guys that you want to foul due to scouting reports and statistics, but you don't have time for that. You just got to try to get a steal. If you don't get a steal, foul. So they fouled. Now it's like, where are you at? So it's a 1-point ball game when we fouled. So if it's a 2-point ball game, like, talking to your guys, because the only guy you can talk to is Jonathan Dalton at that point in time, because everybody else is in on the free throw line. Okay, hey, keep listening to me now. If he misses this, we want to attack the rim right away. If it's still a 2-point ball game, attack the rim right away in transition. If it's a 3-point ball game, you still want to attack, but you have to kick out and throw the ball behind you. And we knew with the play we had set up, Justin Carpenter was going to set up early ball screen for Jonathan Dalton and attack, but we knew we had Denzel taking the ball out and we wanted him trailing. And so Jonathan attacked. He didn't settle. He could have took the shot himself. He could have kicked ahead and made a contested 3-point attempt in the corner for one of either Ladarius Brewer or Daniel, but he saw Denzel coming in there trailing, and obviously Denzel knocked down the 3, but the play was made by Jonathan Dalton those last 2 possessions.
Wanted to ask you, what is your philosophy now? You're starting to see it talked about a lot more these days about whether you foul when you're up 3 late in the game to avoid someone making a game-tying 3-point shot. What is your personal philosophy on that? And then secondly, are you surprised they didn't foul Jonathan Dalton? They may have won the game had they fouled Jonathan Dalton.
Yeah, and it's a tricky situation. And to me, the most important thing, you can't wait until that scenario presents itself besides giving that philosophy to your team. If you're waiting there in that timeout to give that philosophy to your team and you haven't practiced that situation in end-of-game scenarios, it's not going to work. Because what's going to happen is a young man's going to foul somebody while he's shooting, or he's going to foul too late, or he's not going to get him early. So to me, whatever your philosophy is, you better make sure that you have practiced it and held your guys accountable in a practice situation instead of waiting to a stressful situation where they must execute that. So for me, especially with a guy like Jonathan Dalton, Jonathan only shoots 63% from the free throw line. So that plays a part into it as well. So I'm probably going to foul in that situation because you got a dead ball situation. Anytime, to me, under 10 seconds and it's full court, I'm going to foul because we got enough time for now them to get the ball up the court. I think the big mistake people make all the time is they don't get the ball stopped early. They let guys get on a dead run.
Right.
And so now they're getting across half court in 2 seconds. And what I think you have to do is you got to put some sort of pressure on. And, hey, fellas, like, it's token pressure. You're just trying to keep them in front of you and not allow any splits because you don't want those guys to get on a dead run. And they allowed Jonathan Dalton to get on a dead run, so he was able to get up the court right away. So I think that's the first thing is you got to make them take time in the back court because you can see in that same situation, once we scored, I believe it was maybe 2 seconds that they still had to try to advance the ball and make a play right there in the overtime. And so to me, you got to get up and apply pressure. And the second part of that is make sure you foul before they get into active shooting. That is the most important thing. But then also for us, what would be scary for me in that situation, if we did foul, we've been very poor on free throw blockouts.
Yeah.
And so now that comes into play because you know the team is going to try to make one and miss the second one in order to try to have a chance to win the game. And so for me, that will play a part in it too. Like analytics, hey, fellas, we've been a bad free throw blockout team. And so now do you want to take the gamble of them making a contested three to tie the game, or do you want to send somebody to the free throw line and all of a sudden now they get an offensive rebound and they win it or tie it that way?
Do you, in practice, ever practice missing a free throw in a late game situation?
Yes.
Where you're throwing it up there at the rim, you got to hit the rim, or all bets are off and the other team gets the ball out of bounds. So you do work on that.
Yeah, I think you have to practice situations and scenarios because to me, you know, everybody talks about coaching, but it doesn't matter if your guys haven't been put in that situation before. To me, that's the poor coaching part of it. It's not the decision-making of what you're going to do at the end of the game. To me, the poor coaching comes in advance of that you haven't put your guys in that situation. You got 18-year-old guys. You got freshmen out there. You got guys that never played Division I college basketball. Now they're in a stressful situation, and they've never been in that situation before, and you expect them to execute. That's not the kid's fault. That's your fault as a coach if you haven't done that.
All right, as you look at Denzel Mahoney stepping up and making that shot, as his coach, that cannot have surprised you. I mean, this guy, not only is he a great player, but the great players make plays down the stretch. They make winning plays. They make clutch plays. And I guess a guy can be a great player. You don't know if he's clutch until he is presented with some opportunities to prove it. It's a provable thing with this guy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, if you talk to coaches that are really observe the game of basketball and people that observe, you know, there's a lot of empty points in college basketball and NBA basketball. And what I mean by that is, you know, guys that are averaging 20 points a game or guys that are averaging 15 points a game, you know, whether in the NBA or in college. But when are they scoring? I mean, I see a lot of games that I watch and I'm scouting, and it's a 15-point ball game, and guys are like, you know, scoring points then. Doesn't matter. Whether you're ahead or you're behind 15, it doesn't matter. I mean, like, are you making those same plays in the stretch when it's a 3-point ball game, a 1-point ball game? To me, those are the guys that I'm looking at and I'm worried about. Those guys that are scoring when it's a 15-point ball game, yeah, okay, there's no pressure by that point in time. So, you know, for Denzel, he's able to, like, and Denzel's in pressure situations all the time because every single time he catches a basketball, everybody knows that they got to surround him because he's such a good player. And he's continued to make play after play after play, you know, in those situations.
Also, Coach, you want the ball in Denzel Mahoney's hands. The interesting thing about him is the versatility that you get when he has the basketball, because you have to respect him. He's one of, I mean, it's not subjective. It is fact and statistics based. He's one of the very best three-point shooters in the league. He is the best player in the league at getting to the free throw line, and we know he can finish around the basket. So, I mean, where's the downside of having the ball in his hands at the end of the game? Although I will say he is a guy that appears to me to be very unselfish. If he sees an open teammate, I'm not so sure that he doesn't work the ball to the open guy.
Yeah, and to me that's where it boils down to is, you know, hey, you can draw up something, you can get the ball in his hands, but he's also got to make the right decision too. I think a lot of times what you see is in the game situations. If you watch college basketball, there's so many guys that get the ball in a one-on-one situation, and it's a 2-point ball game and a 1-point ball game, and they start playing with the ball. You know, they're hesitation dribble, going between their legs, and end up taking a jump shot. You know, to me, that's, hey, I tell our guys every single time, when you're in those situations, when you get the ball, I want you to attack the basket and don't play with the ball. Catch it, sweep, fake sweep, shot fake, but whatever you do, like, get downhill and put the pressure on the defense because they don't want to foul you. And you got to put the onus on the referees, and they got to call the game the same way they've been calling it. So it just bothers me when you see guys, you know, hey, Kobe Bryant can get the basketball and jab and jab and jab and then still go make a play. You know, most basketball players, you need to make a play on the closeout. And so what we do is we design plays where the opposing team has to close out to you, and now you make a decision. Obviously, we draw it up and you're wide open or you're uncontested, shoot the ball. There's no question about that. But most people always say, like, you're going to end up having to make a play. You know, the guy I worked for in Indiana State was great. He says, hey, fellas, I got no play where the opposing team slips on a banana peel and you're going to be wide open. Like, they're going to come and guard you, and you're going to have to make a play. Now, I'm going to put you in a situation where you're going to have space and opportunity to make a play on a closeout, but you have to make the play. That's my job, is to give you that space and opportunity. So that's what we talk to our guys about, and that's what Denzel does such a good job of. And just in our regular offense is attacking guys on closeouts.
What were your thoughts on the game that was played by Daniel Simmons on Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, Daniel, it's like I said a while back, you know, he giveth, you know, and he taketh away as well. So, you know, he did some really good things for us, especially in overtime. I think he was the only person that scored for us in overtime. But you know, the table was set up for him by some guys like Jonathan Dalton and Denzel Mahoney making plays for him. But, you know, the growth that I saw more than anything was on the defensive end. You know, like I said to him after the game, I don't know if he was supposed to be switching on most of those things or if he's supposed to be staying with his man. But, you know, you saw him out there talking and pointing and communicating. And I think that's where we have a lot of our breakdowns on the defensive end, is guys are just too cool to talk. And so I just didn't understand. I tell our guys all the time, I don't understand how we can be so cool, you know, that we'll lose. You know, they'd rather be cool than to talk and verbalize. So we just started showing some of our guys. It was a great clip of the Olympic team when Kobe Bryant and LeBron James were on it. And these guys are not in the game. They're in practice, and they're on the bench, and they're just talking the whole time. They were doing a simple drill with LeBron James, and it was just like a one-on-0 shell closeout deal. And he talked the whole time, you know, early, loud, often. So, you know, I said, surely, fellas, if this is not something like, if these guys can do it, you know, one of the top 5 players ever to play in the NBA, one of the top 10 players ever to play in the NBA.
I was going to say, they're both top 10 all time.
Surely you can do it then, can't you? I mean, so just I think you got to give your guys examples of that, because they don't understand what it takes to be great. And so if you're not providing those examples, then they'll never understand why, wow, I didn't know LeBron James did that. I didn't know that Kobe Bryant talked like that. You know, one of the best talkers of all time was Kevin Garnett. They said, like, when Kevin Garnett got on your team, you were going to be better defensively because you had to be, because he was going to talk and communicate and verbalize every single thing. And that's one of the reasons why Draymond Green with the Golden State Warriors is such a valuable commodity to that team, because he is by far the most vocal guy in transition defense in the NBA.
One of the reasons he leads the NBA in technical fouls as well. He keeps talking. One other thing, though, you know, when you talk about you and I were talking the other day, we stopped at a Wings Etc. restaurant in Madisonville, Kentucky, on our way to Morehead State University. We were talking a little Michael Jordan. One thing that I think some people may forget, every year, Michael Jordan, first team all-defensive team in the NBA. The guy was one of the best defenders, and he was always talking.
Yeah, and I tell you this, it was a personal affront to him if somebody scored on him. I mean, he took that personally, and he put as much time and energy on the defensive end as he did on the offensive end.
But it gets overlooked by a lot of people looking back at how great Michael Jordan was. They just think of the offense.
Yeah, he was, I mean, for many years, he was the best on-ball defender on the perimeter and the best player in the NBA at the same time. That's really difficult to be, because a lot of people on the offensive end, like, hey, he's so good offensively, we need to rest him on the defensive end. Well, a lot of times, like, he took the other team's best player. Now, they had the luxury of having Scottie Pippen, too, where those guys can trade off and guard the other person. But, you know, those guys right there, I mean, Jordan defended the ball, and he was great off the ball as well, too.
Who's a guy like that now in the NBA? Would you put Kawhi Leonard?
I think Kawhi Leonard is probably the best defender. Now, I know he's been hurt here lately, but if you talk about, like, as far as perimeter guys that can guard 1, 2s, and 3s, and a lot of times in the NBA now with the way things are going, these undersized, skilled fours, I think
and still be an elite offensive player.
Yeah, I think Kawhi Leonard is probably the best two-way player in the NBA.
He's a really, really great player. The 10 rebound performance of Ladarius Brewer. I wanted to get your thoughts on that because we talked about what he did offensively, but grabbing rebounds, and it's something that you have specifically said in post-game interviews. I believe that Ladarius Brewer should be rebounding the ball better. We should see more defensive rebounds from Ladarius Brewer. So clearly you have one-on-one challenged him in that respect. 10 rebounds to go along with his 19 points.
Yeah, and to me, the key stat is always the defensive rebounds. Offensive rebounds, frankly, for me, it's what you stress. I'm not big on offensive rebounds. I'm more concerned about us getting back in transition defense, so we only send 2 guys to the glass, our 4 and our 5. But he got 9 defensive rebounds. And with all that athletic ability and all the length that he has, I've been on him about the fact that I don't see it because I don't see it statistically. So I look at you, I see this great athlete, but I don't see it being used. And so to me, utilize the talents that you have and, help us be a better rebounding team because we need you to come downhill and rebound the basketball. And we need that from our wings. The game before that, Daniel had 9 defensive rebounds. Yep. And so we need that from one of those guys every single game, but we need it to be on a consistent basis. I told Ladarius he needs to be averaging somewhere around 6 defensive rebounds a game. Daniel needs to be averaging somewhere between 5 and 6 defensive rebounds a game, not 3, not 2. And that's what hurts us is we need a team rebounding effort, and it needs to be all 5 guys.
So in the first half of the game, you get 8 rebounds. At halftime, the rebounding – and there weren't a lot of missed shots in the first half, so there weren't a lot of rebounds to be had. But it was 17-8. They had a 9-rebound advantage. You end up out-rebounding them 30-29. You out-rebounded them 22-12 in the second half. Why the big turnaround?
Well, I think, it's a couple things. A lot of that has to do with the overtime performance because I think they were only 1 of 8 from the field in overtime. So there was a lot of opportunities there, and we didn't get the first 2 opportunities to have the defensive rebound in that overtime, and they end up hitting a 3 by Malcolm Butler on that. And I thought, hey, that's going to be our downfall right there, that 3, because we should have had stops. But the other part of that, too, is, I thought that we started to chase rebounds so much better in the second half. I thought sometimes we blocked out, but you also must go get it, too. And it's hard because Dennis Rodman never blocked anybody out. But Dennis Rodman would just go get the basketball. So there's 2 different types of ways to go get it, and I just thought that we were blocking out, but we weren't going to go get the ball. So I thought we did a much better job in the second half of just going to get the ball.
Do we know how high Ladarius Brewer can jump? I mean, there are times he's going over the rim to grab some of these defensive rebounds. Has his vertical jump been measured?
I think it's been measured. I know it's the highest on the team, but I could be wrong here. I thought it was somewhere around 35 or 36, something like that. I don't know if it was higher than Antonius Cleveland.
I was going to say who had the bigger.
Yeah, I think Antonius Cleveland is probably just a little different, but Antonius is longer than Ladarius as well, too. I think there's probably about an inch or 2 difference between those 2 guys. But I would say this, it's a blessing to have either one of those guys as far as being able to do it. Now, the one thing that is different, you can see Antonius going up and getting lobs and dunks way more than you do with Ladarius. So
is that something that you see him transitioning into or not?
Well, I hope so. But, it's not just that. Like last year, Jalen Benton, would just throw the ball up there to Antonius Cleveland, and we don't have that now. And so we got to have some, guys that have an opportunity. But also, Ladarius doesn't run the court the way that Antonius did. Antonius went to the rim. LA is running to the 3-point line. So, we got to get Ladarius to run to the rim so we can get some of them alley-oop dunks because when he has an opportunity, he's running to the 3-point line. So we got to get him to run to the rim more.
All right. I did before we bring on Jonathan Dalton, the Red Hawks point guard, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Morehead State game where you fell behind by 10 points early on. Now, where Morehead's going to finish in the standings, don't know, but they have been playing a little bit better. So you're down 10 points on the road. This is back-to-back games here, UT Martin, Morehead State, where you're down double figures, and your team comes back to win the game. And you really kind of cruised in the second half to the finish line. They never really, really put on the full-court press and pressed you really closely to where the game seemed like it might be in doubt in the final few minutes. What were your overall thoughts on what you did against Morehead State?
Yeah, I was disappointed with our lack of team in that first period there. I just thought that we didn't share the basketball. We weren't cohesive on the defensive end. I thought we really made some poor decisions, but I just thought that we were out playing on the island, more worried about ourselves than the team, and I thought we did a much better job of that. And I tell you what, to me, the turning point of the game is when there was a double technical fouls, and so I think they cut it to 4 points at that point in time. And so I thought, like, hey, this is where, like, either we're going to wilter, and all of a sudden now, like, you know, it's a ball game the whole entire time. Or, hey, we can take this and move out from here. And our guys did a great job of not focusing on that and just went out and played basketball and did some really good things of executing both on the offensive end and the defensive end to give us a cushion that we could play with throughout the course of the game.
There are times where I watch you on the sideline, and I can tell that you feel like you're going to throw up. I mean, there are times you do not hide your emotions well during a game when you're frustrated about something. And the same thing when you're encouraging your guys and things of that nature. But I mean, I'm sure on video you've seen yourself on the sideline. It's fun to watch you, I got to admit, on the sideline. I could tell when you get frustrated. And, I mean, when they got the offensive rebound right before halftime and kicked it after a missed free throw and kicked it out and hit a three right before the buzzer, and you were going to the locker room, I mean, your frustration, you had pegged the frustration meter at that point because you were stomping to the locker room. What were your thoughts when you talked to your team right after that? And as a coach, how do you take a breath when you're frustrated before you address your team in a situation like that, where it literally happened just seconds ago where you were ready to take a chair and probably throw it in the fourth row?
Well, to me, I was frustrated, first of all, with the foul. I just think that it was just bad team defense, bad individual defense. You know, you don't want to, foul in that situation. But then you go to the free throw line, they make the first one. And then, to me, it is the most ridiculous thing to not be able to get a free throw. It's 4 versus 2. And to me, it's a total lack of effort. It's a total lack of discipline to let one of two guys get in there and get his hands on it when it's 4 versus 2.
So you think they're thinking, okay, the half's over?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, obviously they're not thinking about getting a rebound and execute. And so then, you know, so you go into that situation and all you have to do is get the rebound. What happens on the other end in that last, I think it was maybe 3 seconds left at that point in time. So what happens there is immaterial. It doesn't matter. As long as you don't turn the ball over or do something silly, you're going into halftime with a lead. And so that changes all of a sudden when they get an offensive rebound and kick it out and they shoot a 3, and now they're up by 1, at halftime. So it's a 4-point swing just because your inability to, not foul, and then your inability to get a defensive rebound when it's 4-on-2. So that's to me, that's what bothers me. And so, there's some things that happens in basketball that is coaching. There's no coaching when you already have an advantage of 4 versus 2. I mean, that's just want to, that's desire, that's execution, and we're not locked in at that point in time, and that's what bothers me is I've got to get my team to understand how important this is and how you lose ball games based on that.
You were very complimentary of Jonathan Dalton, and not only in the game against Martin, you were extremely complimentary. You've been very complimentary with him most of the season, and is there a more improved player on your roster than Jonathan Dalton?
Well, I don't know, and I'm not saying this just because he's here, but I don't know if there's a more improved player in the OVC. I mean, you look at, what was coming back and what was written about guys and things like that. There was nobody that had the expectations that Jonathan Dalton was going to be one of the top players in the nation and taking care of the basketball in assist-to-turnover ratio. I mean, what he's doing in the OVC statistically, there's nobody that had that. So I think the biggest thing is people were the question mark of that position. And so, I mean, we can take credit as coaches when it's all said and done. It's about these guys working on their individual game and their development. So we gave him the information that he needed to work on, and we gave him the template and what he needed to do. But that 2 hours a week that we work with him in the off season really doesn't mean anything if those guys don't take that opportunity and do something more than that. So to Jonathan's credit, he's really done a good job of taking the information and then also not being insulted. I mean, that's one thing that always happens when you talk to a guy about what he needs to improve on and what he needs not to do in order to be a good player. And as soon as you say that, I mean that all of a sudden, oh, man, you're criticizing my game. You're not letting me get my game on, or like you don't have any confidence or trust in me. You know, that's what it ends up turning to instead of like that guy. So now he goes out and tries to prove even more you're wrong by doing some of the things that you asked him not to do. And so what Jonathan has done, he's done a great job of taking the coaching and realizing what he can and can't do, and it's really helped him as a basketball player. If anything, you know, we had to get on him more about, hey, man, like you need to score. You know, like you're the one that's open, or you need to try to finish that. And so, like, it's good that you have to at least tell, because most guys you're telling, hey, man, like, chill out. You know, like, don't shoot that anymore. You're not open. You know, share the basketball. So I think, you know, all the credit goes to Jonathan because he took the coaching the right way and he went out and executed. And he's doing a phenomenal job running this team.
Well, let's talk to him. The New Orleans, Louisiana native, Jonathan Dalton, is going to join us when we come back. It's the Coaches Show. We are at Wings, Etc. in Cape on SEMO ESPN.
Expected surprise performance, that big play from a rookie or free agent. And that's what's great about Wings Etc. Grill and Pub. You know about our wings, but the surprise is all of our etc. Sandwiches, wraps, quesadillas, salads, subs, seafood, amazing appetizers, and awesome daily specials. Sure, you love our award-winning wings, but don't forget our etc. And now, when you can't eat, drink, and watch here, order online for pickup at togo.wingsetc.com. Wings Etc. Grill and Pub. Good food, great times.
Your favorite team, get it all right.
This makes my day go great.
On the SEMO ESPN Sports Network.
It's the Red Hawks Coaches Show, live from Wings, Etc. in Cape Girardeau. Still got time to get by here and join us for lunch. Of course, on Mondays, their award-winning jumbo wings are just 69 cents. They have food and drink specials throughout the week. And, of course, you'll notice the high-definition televisions when you walk in. Well, I don't know how many TVs are in here, but I'd have to say, 15, maybe 20 high-def TVs on the greatest sporting events going on. We got the Olympics live. We got some ESPN radio simulcast going on. I think I see Jim Rome on. I see a replay of the Rutgers-Nebraska game. I see some UFC fighting going on, multiple college and pro basketball games. I mean, the latest sports programming always on here at Wings, Etc., not only in the Cape Girardeau location where we are today, but also over in Jackson. And if you're coming for lunch, their daily half-pound lunch specials start at just $6.49. We mentioned the food and drink specials throughout the week. Hey, bring the kids because they have a terrific kids menu, and Wings is open 7 days a week and late on the weekends because oftentimes The games run late. It is Wings, etc. in Cape and Jackson. And again, a reminder, we'll be over in the Jackson location next Monday at 12 noon. We'll be recapping the Eastern Illinois and the SIU Edwardsville games, which come up for the Red Hawk men on Thursday and Saturday. Let's talk it over with the Red Hawks point guard, Jonathan Dalton, who's coming off a performance of 10 assists and just 1 turnover in the big win at UT Martin on Saturday night. How are you, Jonathan?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing well. This is a unique time of year in your hometown. This is Mardi Gras week, so all of the eyes in the United States kind of peek in a little bit more on your hometown. What is Mardi Gras like there, and what's it like growing up around Mardi Gras as you did?
Well, as far as growing up, I hated it because, like, you know, the traffic, you can't never go where you want to go because I'm not, like, big on parades. But it's wild right now. Like, I think not today but tomorrow, because it's going to be Fat Tuesday. It's going to have, like, a lot of the big parades, like, from 10 o'clock in the morning probably to, like, 9.
So
all day
explain to people what the significance of Fat Tuesday is.
Well, you know, it's supposed to be like, you know, a tradition for, you know, you go out, do all your dirty stuff, and then you go to you go to your church the next day, like if you're Catholic or not. But that's what it's supposed to be. But people just go to have fun and, you know, be with your family and your friends and go to the parades, eat, get together. Drink a lot because they let you drink on the street in New Orleans, I guess. And just have fun. That's all it's about, having fun.
So right now, you don't turn 21 until next month.
Don't let them know that right now.
Yeah, just until next month. So you really haven't been able to experience Mardi Gras ever, right?
Yeah, you can say that.
So I will say I was stationed in the Navy in Key West, Florida. And one of the popular places there on Duval Street was called Fat Tuesdays. And all of the drinks that they had were all frozen drinks. And you could walk by and they'd have the frozen drink thing spinning with all the different colors and everything.
Yeah,
Fat
daiquiris.
Tuesdays.
That's what
Yes. And so they had all the frozen daiquiris, and those were all of the drinks for Fat Tuesday. So what is the city like once Mardi Gras is over?
Almost the same besides the parades.
I'm just figuring it's in cleanup mode at some point. It might does it take it a week or two to kind of get back to normal?
Yeah, actually, I just saw something on the news from back home, and they pulled out about 10,000 tons of Mardi Gras beads out the sewage.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why, like, a lot of the floods, you know, took so long.
It stems right back to the Mardi Gras beads. All right.
And they're actually trying to, like, it's some people trying to fight, like, having Mardi Gras beads in the parades. Like, they don't want it thrown anymore.
They just decided that they'd like to do away with the Mardi Gras beads.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that would ever happen, though,
It's
right?
not. Yeah, I hope not.
All right, your junior college, Copiah Lincoln Community College. What was your experience like in junior college, and what schools were recruiting you other than Southeast?
It was a good experience for me, mainly because that was one of the only things I had coming out of high school, and you know, I learned a lot. It's obviously different, like transferring and going to like a D1 after, but you know, the people I met there and the people I played with, and one of my best friends actually was from New Orleans, and he went to the same school. He's at North Carolina A&T now, but you know, it was a good experience for the most part.
All right.
The only bad thing is I didn't really have service when I needed it.
It's cell phone service.
Yeah.
Ah, see.
I had to go outside to talk to people.
Did you even consider that when they were recruiting you?
Nah.
I was going to say, the last thing you're thinking about, now, wait a minute, what's my cell phone service going to be like when I go to school? Now, you missed 9 games with an injury at junior college. What was the injury? What was that like?
Yeah, I tore my right meniscus, and I actually tore my left one in high school, so both of them kind of beat up. But it was heartbreaking because I actually did just come back. You know, your first game playing at the next level, you tear your meniscus and you don't know what to think.
So it was the first game you played at junior college?
Yeah, the first game I tore it. Actually, I finished the game. Like, I didn't know, but the next morning I woke up and I couldn't, like, bend my knee. So I knew something was up. And, you know, you never know, like, even though it's not, like, a huge injury, but, you know, just to come back, you know, you don't really know how you're going to perform. You know, I was really looking forward to, like, the next year, just getting through that year. But I ended up still doing okay.
Okay, so meniscus tears in both knees. Do you ever feel that anymore, or is you have absolutely nothing? I mean, if it's getting ready to rain, your knee doesn't start barking at you or anything?
Nah, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, I forget I had it sometimes, so that's a good thing.
That's a really good thing. Tell us about the evolution in your game. I mean, Coach Ray said, for his money, you're the most improved player in the Ohio Valley Conference from last year to this year. Why is that?
I had to give a lot of credit to one of the coaches, being Coach Nick. You know,
Nick LeGrune.
Yeah,
yes.
He worked with me real hard this offseason. You know, his main focus was not really about scoring as much, but like just being effective, like finding my open teammates and stuff like that, and also taking care of the ball. And you know, he emphasized that. And it wasn't like we worked on scoring and stuff like that, but that wasn't never the main focus. So I had to give a lot of credit to him.
Nick LeGrune, I mean, he does a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but I know he works one-on-one with a lot of the guys. This is a quality assistant coach, am I right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, I always see him in the gym working with almost everybody. You know, he's never, like, picky on who you're going to work with. Like, if you want to work with him, he's going to work with you. I know a lot of times, you know, he'll call me early in the morning and get me out the bed to come to the gym. So, you know, I really appreciate a guy like that because not every team probably has that. So.
And he can still ball, am I right?
Yeah. Actually, Coach Ray used to get mad at us because when he would have to practice, he actually come out the gates like, don't stretch or nothing, and he'll take the ball from one end, go down and score a layup. And now we got to get on the line because he moving like a cheetah out there. But
Nick LeGrune, the cheetah. 5 feet 10 inches tall. That's what they got you listed at on the roster. How accurate?
5'11".
You think 5'11"? You think they're shorting you an inch. Usually, you know, sometimes you see an inch added there. You say, okay, there's no way that guy's 6'2". He's probably more like 6 feet tall. You're upset about this, and we need to get the rosters changed.
Yeah, you got to round that up.
All right, 155 pounds. How accurate is that?
That might be.
Okay.
That might be.
All right. Well, I know they keep close tabs on just exactly how much you weigh. When you came in, was there a big push to help you get bigger and stronger, which is normally the case for a lot of young players?
Well, actually, I came in about 160. Fat, though, so because of that injury, I was still eating bad. I still don't tell nobody.
You eat chicken strips every meal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I mean. I know you're the infamous chicken strip guy on the team, but moving in a direction where nutrition is talked about, diet is talked about, you get in the weight room, you're working with your strength and conditioning coach. How big of a change is that from what you were dealing with at junior college? And just explain to the listeners, I mean, nutrition is a big thing at Division I, is it not?
Yeah, main thing, you know, I know Coach Johnson's big on that. He always wants us to eat healthier. And I'm still working on it because I eat horrible. I really do. I just had Burger King this morning. So, but
we got some nice, healthy wings, etc. menu items for you today. Don't worry about that.
if it's fried, it's fried.
Well, we can grill it for you.
Right.
We get it fried, grilled, whatever you need.
But nah, on a serious note, nutrition, especially on this level, is huge because, you know, you want to take care of your body because it's a rigorous game. You know, a lot of up and down, and you banging with the big guys, and, you know, it hurts your body. So you want to always eat something that's going to help you recover faster. You know, like drink a lot of water and stuff like that. So, but I mean, I ain't the best eater, but, you know, I'm getting by. I'll change next year.
All right. Just so you know, when you end up creeping up on 40, I can tell you the truth. You no longer have that metabolism of a ferret. It slows down, just so you know. So if you get the whole eating correctly thing down pat while you're in your 20s, It's going to be a lot easier as you move forward. Just giving you a little helpful hint. All right, Coach Ray saying that Antonius Cleveland last year, boy, all the alley-oop dunks, and he thinks that Ladarius Brewer, may be able to leap as high and, maybe have the ability to do something like that. But there is no Jalen Benton. There's nobody to throw that ball up near the rim. And I thought, now, wait a minute. We got a point guard sitting right over there. What's going on? Do you and Ladarius ever work on that play in practice?
Nah, sometimes we joke around about it, and, I feel for him. But at the end of the day, like Coach Ray said, he don't run to the rim, so he going to the three-point line. That's where I find him at. But for me, I never really had to play with somebody above the rim. So, I'm not really like the best alley-oop passer. Like, I'll mess around and throw in the third stand. So, if it's there, I try to get it to him, but I can't promise that it's going to get there.
Okay, sounds like you have zero confidence in the ability to get the alley-oop pass out. So
the difference, like if he draw up a play for it, don't draw up a play. Just hope it happens.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to be thinking about it.
Because last year, Jalen and Antonius, it was just they were just kind of on the same page. It wasn't a drawn-up play, right?
Yeah, Jalen needs to just throw it up there, and AC will go get it.
All right, I wanted to ask you about the end-of-game situation at UT Martin. 14 seconds left. You take the ball down the floor all the way to the rim, put it in, get timeout with 7.7 seconds to go. What were your thoughts there with 14 seconds to play in the game?
Coach Ray called me over.
Down by 3, by the way, just so everyone knows the scenario.
Yeah, Coach Ray called me over, and he was like, you want to get a quick bucket here? Because I remember when we played Austin P, we was down by 3, and, unfortunately I dribbled the ball out. And that play, you want to learn from that, and I did. And, against Austin P, I was thinking 3-point the whole time. But this time, we had 14 seconds, and it was like, okay, we could get a quick bucket here and then make them make 2 more free throws. And then however much time they got now, we'll operate off of that. So, once I pushed the ball up, I saw a lane, the opening in the lane, and it was just there for the taking. So I went, and I got the layup. And then we ended up fouling. Or they called timeout?
Yeah, timeout, 7.7.
Yeah,
and then you guys foul, and they hit the free throws. Take us through the final play of the game. 7 seconds exactly. You got to go down and get a 3, down 3 points. Denzel's inbounding the basketball. Take us through the final play of regulation.
Well, Coach Ray drew up a play basically for Carp to set a screen and for me to get down here. And, if I had the 3, take it. But Denzel, for the most part, always trails, and he can always catch the ball, like, at the top of the key for a 3. And I knew in the back of my head I was going to look because I had Daniel on the left side running down the court and, for a 3-point. I also had Ladarius on the right. And, they were my first options. And then, I looked at the time, and we still had about 3.5 seconds left maybe. By the time I was able to loop around and look behind me, and I knew that's enough time for Denzel to get a shot off, especially because I had my man, like, on me, and then Denzel, man, was kind of, like, sagged off a little bit. So, I just threw it behind, and he shot the shot, and thank God it went in. So.
You got to have confidence. So when Denzel jumps up to shoot a shot,
I wasn't
for the most part, you think it's going in.
I was just ready for overtime.
Is he as good a player as you've ever played with?
He probably the best. Yeah, he's the best.
Have you ever seen him dunk?
Not in the game.
Okay, no.
He dunks in one almost. Okay. But I don't know why he doesn't dunk in the game.
Yeah, that's just it. It looked the other night, where was it? It might have been at Moorhead. It looked like he was going to go in and dunk on a guy. You remember that, and he got fouled?
I don't even recall.
Okay, all right. You might have been on the bench getting a drink at that point. Would you, if I told you before the season started that you would lead the team in minutes played, would you have believed me?
Nah. I thought it would be Denzel, but, I knew I would play a lot of minutes. Coach Ray told me I would, but not lead the team, so.
Well, you're leading the team. Third in the OVC in assists, third in assist to turnover ratio. How much pride do you take in taking care of the basketball?
I take a lot of pride in that. I know it was a little time, Coach Ray had to let me know because I think my turnover ratio was 8 to 8 at the time, right? Yeah, it was 8-8.
Yeah, that's not good enough.
He got on me about that. He's like, get back to take care of the ball. And, you know, not going to say I took it to heart, but I definitely, like, it was in the back of my mind. Like, let's take care of the ball again. You know, you can still do what you do, but just take care of the ball. And that's been my main focus. You know, I know against Morehead I still had 3 turnovers, but I know coming to this game, me and Coach Nick talked about, I was like, no more than 2. And let's, you know, get the assists up, and thank God that's what happened. So
10 assists, 1 turnover for Jonathan Dalton, whose hometown is going through Mardi Gras. Do they send you pictures from Mardi Gras, any of your buddies?
Nah. My parents don't even go to parades, so.
Yeah. It's a yawn thing when you actually live there. It's just a bunch of tourists coming into your town for a week, right?
Yep.
All right, you guys got 2 more home games here coming up: Eastern Illinois and SIU Edwardsville. Teams that you've notched victories over. What are your thoughts here? And you know, going head to head with EIU and SIUE, a chance to continue this winning streak.
Yeah. These 2 games are gonna be big. You know, the last 2 home games. I think we're gonna have senior night. What, Saturday?
Well, you have 1 home game at UT Martin. Will be the last game.
Oh, okay. So
that'll be
still
next
got
week.
Another one.
Yeah.
Well, either way it go, you know, you want to approach these 2 games, kind of like we approached the last 2. You know, but this time we don't want to start out slow. You kind of, you know, because these 2 teams are not like bad. You know, we might have won, but it was 2 hard games, and you know, of course they're gonna come in here looking for revenge on our home floor now. So
SIU Edwardsville just beat Jacksonville State.
Yeah, so I didn't know that.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so that should let you know. Can't take no one for granted.
All right, let me ask you one thing. I hear about how soft the Show Me Center rims are. Do you think they're pretty soft rims? Are they good rims? When you're playing in other OVC venues, where do you rank the rims at the Show Me Center?
I like ours the best. Maybe because I'm used to it, but, you know, I put it first.
Okay.
I like them.
Now, you've been to every building in the OVC. Where do you rank the Show Me Center?
I like Murray State Gym. I think ours still better.
See, that's the way I got it. I got it 1, 2. I've got SEMO first, Murray second.
Yeah. Who we play? Tennessee Tech got a nice gym too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I like Jacksonville State. It's not like big, but you know it's a nice facility. But I think ours probably the best.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. What are you on social media? Let's see if we can get you a follower or 2 here.
Oh, my Twitter is _2_ JD10. Or you can just type my name in, Jonathan Dalton, and it should pop up.
2 underscores JD10.
Yep.
All right. JD, good to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you,
All
too.
right. That's the Red Hawks point guard, Jonathan Dalton. Back to wrap it up with Coach Ray at Wings, etc. after this.
Size done.
Final segment here on the Red Hawks Coaches Show with head coach Rick Ray. Thanks to Jonathan Dalton, Red Hawks point guard, for joining us. Coach, you get ready to host Eastern Illinois on Thursday, SIU Edwardsville on Saturday. Only 3 home games left in the season. Does it seem like it's gone by that quick?
No, I mean it's always seems like it's a marathon, you know, not a sprint as far as like how many games you play, but it ends up seeming like a sprint, especially with the way our schedule's set up where you play Thursday, Saturday. You know, people don't understand how hectic, you know, that time between Thursday and Saturday is for you, because what you're trying to figure out is like the opposing team, how much information you can give your team and things. So that whole, as soon as that Thursday, that game is over with Thursday night, that Friday, like I'm just watching tape, meeting with assistant coaches, and then all of a sudden Friday comes and you're at practice like, okay, how much information can we give to our players? How much do we need to rest? What can we do? So it's really like a challenging setup to go between that Thursday and Saturday. So that what makes it seem like it's so stressful and so long, but it ends up seeming like a sprint.
All right, as you get ready to finish up the regular season here, you're going to play 4 more games against teams that are below you in the standings. So theoretically, if you would get hot here, you could actually win more games this year than last year. Now, I know you take them one at a time, I understand, but if this team would win more games than you won last year with Antonius Cleveland and that group, what would that say to you?
Well, I mean, you just talk about things in totality. The bottom line is that we returned 1 starter. Now, he's obviously a very, good player. And just a shout out to Denzel. He just got named OVC Player of the Week. Finally, and it had to be a co. But, we knew we returned an outstanding player. But when you look at our roster and what we returned, only 4 guys has ever played Division I college basketball. And I would only say that one guy that everybody says, like, you knew what he was. There was no starters beyond that. You could say those guys were role players and they had to grow. And then you got all these newcomers coming into the program. And then what you lost. I mean, you lost a professional basketball player in Antonius Cleveland. Trey Kellum has played 5 years of college basketball and is overseas playing basketball. Jamal Calvin, just a consummate point guard. Then you had the transfers with Jalen Benton, who played a lot for us, and Taj. I mean, we lost a lot. So I don't think there was anybody that could be sitting here right now saying that you would have the opportunity to be a better team win-loss-wise than you had last year. So just all the credit due, to our players. And I think one thing that was good to hear is the way Jonathan Dalton talked about Nick LeGrune, and that's our staff. To me, it's really important that you have a guy that the players trust can get them better. And one thing that helps with a guy like Nick LeGrune is they see how good of a player he is. When David Potter was here as a graduate assistant, those guys would want to work out with him because they saw how good of a player he was. But you got to have guys that our assistant coaches that the players trust can get them better.
All right, Eastern Illinois on Thursday, and then on Saturday it'll be SIU Edwardsville, and that will be a doubleheader. We want to remind everybody the women will play EIU on Wednesday, so it'll be Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. Coach, thanks so much for the time, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's head coach Rick Ray, and that'll do it here from Wings, Etc. Don't forget, we'll be at the Jackson location next week, Monday at 12 noon. We'll get you back into ESPN radio programming coming up. So long, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. This has been the Coaches Show from Wings.
Missouri's